Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. On today's episode, we're talking about last night's AEW Dynamite, including a world title change and a trap set for Britt Baker and Adam Cole, baby. And Chugs, that's right. We're also going to talk about contract negotiations for an AEW main eventer. But first, what is this? Could Warner Discovery be home to both AEW and WWE? Larson, what's the news?
So, WWE's media rights contracts with USA Network, NBC Universal, the parent company, and Fox are set to expire next year. And while WWE's current broadcast partners, that being USA and Fox, seemingly have the first crack at securing themselves a new deal, could a new business suitor attempt to woo WWE to their station? Author James Andrew Miller recently appeared on the Sports Illustrated media podcast and stated that Warner Brothers Discovery, the current home of AEW television, could be interested in acquiring WWE's broadcast rights. And these transcripts come to you from Fightful. Quote, "I wouldn't be surprised, despite the fact that money is such an issue for them. I wouldn't be surprised if Warner Brothers Discovery wouldn't like a slice of that WWE pie." Doesn't have to be on Monday night. Monday night is a tough night. If you go through the calendar all year round, there are sports on Monday night. If you're Warner Brothers Discovery, you could say, we're going to move it to a different night. We have Thursday night with the NBA, but we're going to figure out a different night for that. And all of a sudden becomes very attractive. I know there are people at Warner Brothers who are interested in the WWE. If they were to lose the NBA, I would certainly imagine they would become a pretty big advocate for buying something. That would create quite the auction, unless it's taken off. It's either Fox or NBC comes in with a preemptive offer that WWE likes. They, Warner Brothers Discovery, won't even get a chance. My point is, if a buyer comes in and doesn't want Monday night, that Monday night package is mobile. There's no reason why it has to be Monday night. Oh, I mean, it's Monday Night Raw. Change the whole name of the show.
You want to change the name of the show? Yeah, I mean, the Monday Night Wars. It was a big deal. WWE won. Yeah, this is making the news rounds in the internet wrestling community because it's something that somebody with a
resume has. I mean, James Andrew Miller is writes about media.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's his specialty. He's written several books.
His Saturday Night Live book, by the way, is fantastic.
Yeah, that's what
it's like an oral history, but it's like, oh man, it's so good.
Yeah.
So anytime anybody in that position says something like this, it perks up some ears, it gets some good headlines, but it's like much ado about nothing, right? Yeah.
I mean, I would think for the most part, because there's other sports Monday night, but that's the nature of Monday nights and Raw. Even with a running time that's an hour too long, most parts of the year, it does pretty well for itself.
It does, yeah. I mean, they can look. Nothing in that time slot against Monday Night Football, which is a juggernaut, is going to do terribly well. Mm-hmm. But like when Monday Night Football's done with and it's not competing, it does pretty damn well.
That's fine.
It always does really well in the demo, which is the big advertising thing. He does say, I mean, what's interesting, the interesting slice here is the quote, "I know there are people at Warner Brothers who are interested in WWE, maybe because they watched AEW last night and they're like, oh, what is this stuff? I'd rather have, well-booked stuff on my TV shows." But what is that Wardlow crap? What was this Wardlow guy? What is this TNT title? I don't mean anything. And so, look, people in big conglomerates like this, big digital media conglomerates, they're going to want the biggest fish in the pond, and that's WWE. That ain't AEW. I'm sure there might be interest there, but there's a long way to go between being interested and having and making it make sense for them to put WWE stuff on Warner Brothers Discovery. That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to go on Max. It's not HBO Max as of late May, on Max.
Mm-hmm. Max.
And then try to get a WWE pay-per-view. That'd be something else.
Where are you watching it on? I watch it on Max. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably not going to happen. But I mean, look, if it did, hey, we did a whole WWE AEW draft over at Friendo Club Wrestling. That's a video you can watch where we drafted for WWE and AEW superstars in case that was, I think, that when Tony Khan was like, yeah, I want to buy WWE and run their booking into the ground. So, yeah, I don't know. I got a lot to unload about last night.
You got a lot of thoughts. Well, let's get through this last news story real quick, and then you can unload to your heart's content. So, amidst rumors that CM Punk is nearing a return to AEW, Fightful Select reports that Hangman Page, who Punk beat initially for the AEW title, is in talks with AEW about a contract extension. Fightful adds that sources have told them that Page, who has the same representative as Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and AEW have started negotiations, quote, fairly recently, and that, quote, there doesn't seem to be much of a timetable on when that could be done.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean,
it's promising among, I think there's a worry among some people that it could be an either or proposition. Either you get Phil or you get the Elite, but you can't have all of them under contract with the company. But if this brand split works out, and the Elite are content with their lot on Dynamite, maybe they'll stay. I don't know.
Yeah. With Hangman, it's kind of interesting because I feel like there's still plenty that Hangman could do. I mean, I know he's been champion already, but he's still pretty darn young.
Yeah.
And they have him in a fairly prominent position right now. He's in the middle of this Elite Blackpool Combat Club stuff, mixing it up with Mox. It's clear that Tony Khan still sees him as a guy who can, close out your big shows, and draw some interest. So yeah, I mean, it's probably a smart move for Hangman Page to re-up with AEW. I think there's some stuff left to be done. And when I say that, I mean, every wrestler should be trying to increase their own stock, their own brand as much as they can, so that if there is an opportunity to go to like a different company and make more money, increase their own stock there, because that happens. Then yeah, it's he's in an interesting position right now where he has done a lot in AEW. So is it time for a change, or do you want to keep going with AEW in the hopes that 3 years from now, if he has like a 3-year contract, he can go and make more money somewhere else. So, that's all interesting stuff to explore.
Yeah, it could be. If nothing else, though, his contract's running out. Do what he needs to do to exert as much leverage so he can make as much money as possible.
Yeah.
Your earning potential as a pro wrestler is relatively short, like a lot of other professional athletes. So you got to get that money while you can. So,
Yeah.
All right, Steve, unload. Go ahead.
Well, I don't want to go all super like blasty negative and stuff. It's just, I'll start with some positives on last night's AEW Dynamite. All right. Chris Jericho, I'll put it this way, man. It seems like the people who clearly are able to forge their own path creatively in AEW do pretty well.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho and Adam Cole's segment last night, which is Chris Jericho can do what he wants there.
Yeah.
That's clear at this point. I thought that was really good stuff. I think that whenever, and I'll keep on hammering this point home, because Jericho has this weird reputation that and I'm not going to call it weird. I understand where people are coming from when they call him a momentum vampire, right? I get it. I personally don't feel that's on Chris Jericho. It's whoever's running the ship, and that's Tony Khan. Once Chris Jericho's done with somebody, then they're back in the hands of Tony Khan, who, I'm sorry, seemingly can't book his way out of a paper bag these days.
Yeah.
Because it's just not good. Like, Jericho's and Cole stuff was good last night. The Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite stuff was good last night. You know why? Because they're probably writing their own stuff. They don't have Tony Khan telling them what to do because they just have the stroke and pull to do that. Meanwhile, you have the TNT title, which has no fucking point whatsoever. What is the point of this title? Like, why is it every other title gets these like 8-month-long runs, and this is the one title that seemingly changes on a whim? Feud to feud. This thing changes hands. It means nothing. And like people arguably come off worse after it. You got this title went into Hobbs's hands, a guy who they crafted all these awesome vignettes for with the Book of Hobbs, him roaming around his territory, his hood or whatever. And it was cool. It was like, this is who this guy is. This is where he's from. He's talking for himself. And then you put him with that jackass QT Marshall as a comedy, get like this QTV bullshit. It's boring and dumb. Like, I was giving it the benefit of the doubt when it started. I guess I am going off. I was giving it the benefit of the doubt when it started because I'm like, okay, Hobbs isn't in the TMZ office thing. They're doing the TMZ thing, and there's some mild cleverness there. There's a seed for something good, and maybe it'll get better, but oddly, it got worse.
Yeah, it got worse week after week, yeah.
So, like, instead of Hobbs talking for himself, they have fucking plugs doing it for him. Like, it's terrible. And then like he goes on a bit of a run. He beats some people that makes it's obvious he's gonna beat. And then Wardlow just comes back and just gets the title back. Why was he gone in the first place? Like, what was the point of it? Was Wardlow injured?
No, when Hobbs broke into his car, all his stuff got stolen, so he had to go and cancel his credit cards and get a new driver's license and passport.
A lot of paperwork involved, right?
He has to go and make sure that his personal information hadn't got out there, so some identity thieves could pretend to be Wardlow, and then maybe they could have went and tried to win the TNT title rather than him. I don't know. That process takes time. So I get it, Steve. It takes time to take care of all that stuff. But
identity theft is a serious thing, man.
So you take all that, what you're 100% right about, and you add on top of that, as soon as the match ends, Wardlow gets his next challenger, and it's Luchasaurus and Christian.
Yeah.
Hobbs teleports right out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. And where's he going to end up? On Dark and Elevation?
I don't know.
Like, with feuds that go nowhere?
Like, you'd like to hope that someone wins the title, that even when they lose it, even if it's a short title reign, in some respect, they're better off post-title reign than they were before.
Right, yeah. It's supposed to elevate you, yeah.
Yes. Going back to when Hobbs won the title, thanks to QT's help, you knew right then, this is not going to help Hobbs really at all.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
No fault of his own.
Yeah.
Hobbs is a super talented guy.
Dude, I know. He could be a main eventer right now. Literally right now, he could be.
And then rather than have him be his own performer, his own character, they saddle him with this QTV bullshit.
Yeah. And we tried. We gave, for being the podcast that people say, oh, these guys are positive about stuff. We fucking try.
I don't know, man. I feel like QTV was fucking dog shit from the beginning. And I remember when QT helped Hobbs win the title, we're like, this is not going to work. This is not going to be good.
Right.
This is going to suck. And Hobbs deserves way more than this.
Yeah, and you know what? But here's the thing. I will give you a chance. I'll give you a damn chance. And it's stupid. Like, the QTV stuff from beginning to end was fucking dumb, and Hobbs looks like nothing with these people. It's like, what? You never needed these guys. Why would you put him with a fucking clown show? QT Marshall's a fucking waste of space, dude. I'm sorry, but he is. Maybe he's great backstage. Maybe he does all sorts of awesome stuff to help get wrestlers paid backstage. But I don't want to see him on my TV ever because he's a waste of fucking space. I'm sorry, but he is. And you're taking a guy. You're taking a guy who's got endless potential, who has shown you endless charisma and potential in Hobbs, a monster, a guy who could fucking dominate.
Yeah.
If he's going to lose, have him lose like, it's dumb. It's so dumb. It's so frustrating to see guys like Hobbs, to see guys like Keith Lee, to see guys like Swerve, to see people like Jade Cargill. Like, she's not involved in the main title scene. Why? She's in this "you stole my move" shit with Taya Valkyrie.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm sorry to point it out, and I know I'm going to be getting shit for it, but what do all those people I just named have in common? And that's a whole other conversation to have, but it's fucking true. You see it. What happened with the Acclaimed? They're the most over act in the company, the tag champions. And what happens? FTR pitches a fucking fit on their podcast, and now they're the champions, and the Acclaimed is doing some dog shit stuff with Jericho Appreciation Society.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the through line? You tell me what's the through line? I'm not saying you, I'm saying people. Because we know what it is.
Yes, we do.
So it's frustrating, man. It's so frustrating to see acts that could help your company succeed be treated like dog shit because Tony Khan can't book his way out of a paper bag. He can't.
No, he can't.
So, anyways.
No, he can't. He can't at all. No. And it is frustrating, and you see stuff on Dynamite. You mentioned earlier, you see stuff on Dynamite that works. You mentioned the Jericho Cole stuff. You mentioned the Blackpool Combat Club Elite stuff that's focused on character, that they're building story from week to week, building tension between the characters. But that's the only place it exists on AEW TV right now. Everything else, it just feels like it's up to the whims of one person, because it is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem to be a whole lot of follow through on a whole lot of ideas. And you got this, I appreciate they want to do this I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit. I appreciate they want to do this 4 pillars story. You don't open the show with Jungle Boy coming out and trying to drop a promo.
Why the fuck is Jungle Boy even sniffing the world title? Why?
I don't know.
That guy can't talk his way. He's fucking... I literally fell asleep last night, man. I had to wake up and rewind that shit so I can watch it. I'm not lying. I'm not fucking lying.
I believe
Granted,
you.
It was a little bit late at night.
As soon as they have Jungle Boy coming out here to drop a promo to open an episode of Dynamite, like, what are you doing?
Right. I do not need to hear that guy talk for 20 minutes. I really don't.
No.
Like, get this dude out of here. Why don't you have Hobbs there? Why don't you have Swerve there?
I know. You have like a really interesting dynamic character in Swerve. He's so good. The limited TV time he gets, he's so damn good.
Yeah, I know.
And for whatever reason, they feel a need to give him a faction.
They stick a couple of dudes with 2 left legs in his faction for him to try to carry, him to try to get over. And I'm sorry, but Parker Boudreaux can't wrestle his way out of a paper bag either.
Nope. And I didn't even think we saw Trench in the ring once.
No, we didn't. Which tells you just how bad he probably is.
And you expect Swerve's brilliance to elevate 2 guys that don't even know how to wrestle?
Right. Yeah.
And you want us as viewers to take Swerve seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you put him with 2 guys who obviously don't know how to wrestle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at least they pulled the plug on that once they realized this is a massive issue.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why they really need to feel they felt the need to do that. And here this whole time we got this Swerve Keith Lee storyline that's seemingly been on the back burner because they can't figure out how to tell a basic story, which writes itself.
Right. Yeah, it does.
It writes itself.
Yeah.
You don't have to overthink this stuff.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, yeah. And like last week, you have Keith Lee and Adam Cole having this moment, right?
Yeah.
Where was Keith Lee this week?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
where's the follow through?
Yeah, where's the follow through? You have the convenience of using the history of Keith Lee and Adam Cole as part of your story, but then like he doesn't show up this week to help when Adam Cole's like a girl Britt Baker.
Yes.
And he's handcuffed to the ropes.
Yeah.
And Keith Lee doesn't come out to help out. Like that's a no-brainer.
I know.
Like, dude, I'm fucking over it. I'm at the point where it's like, and then you expect me to give a shit about like your another 2-hour show?
Yeah, I know.
Like, dude, I'm sorry, but like getting back to the Hobbs, Swerve, Lee, Cargill connection, the Acclaimed connection, right? If nothing else, it's we thought that AEW is going to be this thing where it's like, okay, well, it's something fresh, right?
Yeah.
It's not Vince, right? It's not Vince.
Yes.
Vince gave us Kofi Mania, I mean, he did diversify up, and I am all on board with Vince McMahon. Personally speaking, piece of trash, right?
Yep.
Totally understand that.
Yep.
Also probably super racist, right? But for what we see on TV over the past couple of years, he's diversified up the roster. You've seen him see quality. You've seen him see value in representation on the screen.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't see that going on in AEW, man.
Yeah.
I really don't. And obviously, I've seen a ton of people levy these same criticisms. And there's no defense for it, but you just want to sort of see it play out a little bit. I mean, dude, every time I'm like, oh, of course he's going to have the Acclaim win these titles back from the Guns. Like, that's not going to. And every fucking time, of course they're going to have Jade Cargill join the AEW homegrown faction. Nope.
Doesn't happen.
All this shit makes all the sense in the world to elevate these wrestlers, these black wrestlers, and then he doesn't.
Nope.
Like, what more do you need? I don't know, man. And it's not just that. It's simply put, it's just bad storytelling.
It is.
There's just so much bad storytelling involved.
Yeah. So 80% of your show is just frustrating bad storytelling. As you mentioned, why do you expect us as viewers to get invested in another 2 hours when it's going to be 2 hours of the same?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Arguably worse because now the person who's running it is now going to have to dilute their own time and attention and spread it across 2 more hours.
Yep.
Where it's already being spread through Ring of Honor and what they have going on right now.
Yep.
So I don't know, man. It's disheartening to see because I'm like, God, it's just you open up on Jack Perry talking for 20 minutes. Like it's not compelling at all. Like none of this stuff I want to see on my television, you know. So you can only hope it gets better and maybe like more voices will lend to that. But like until anything change, they're going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck at 850,000 in your total viewership. And maybe, hey, Warner Brothers Discovery, you like that? Cool, that's what you're going to get. But here's the thing, if you're not growing, you're dying, you know? That's how it works. So
that's how it works. I know. And it's frustrating to see the talent there. The talent that should be pushed, the talent that should be involved in interesting stories, as mentioned. And for it not to happen. It's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
With stories that it doesn't seem like it takes, you know, like someone with a master's in English literature to put it together, you know?
Yeah.
There's stories that are right there that all you got to do is capitalize on those stories and people are going to be elevated. Time and time again, the ball is dropped.
I thought this dude was gonna. I thought this dude was like a fan of wrestling from back in the day. You know, I thought this guy liked shit from EC. He was there like ECW shows. You could see him in the shows at ECW. We saw him there at like the New Japan show. You know,
one of the Long Beach ones. Yeah,
like there are stories to be told, and he just seems happy to have a pro wrestling company. And it's just
to put on matches. Yeah,
to put on matches. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I just think it's disappointing to see. Like, yeah, we start off here with I mean, we could talk about, we just talked about a lot. Yeah. But we can either start with a recap or we can talk about some of the other the main points here because we sort of talked about a bunch of them.
Yeah, we kind of talked. But I mean, the one thing we haven't really touched on is something in one sense is exciting because Commander is a super talented wrestler, and we like seeing performers like Commander on TV. But it seems like it could be another instance of Tony Khan saying, this wrestler is really good, I want him on my roster, signs him, and then that wrestler shows up for a couple weeks and then disappears.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Which we don't want to see happen to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, we recognize talent. We want to see talented people involved in interesting stories on our television.
Which, hey, I complained about the same shit when WWE signed Grand Metalik and then used him as basically like a comedy act and like a joke. You know, that's not exclusive to AEW, but it is something that you would hope that maybe he would learn from. And it seems like it's going down the same route, you know. I mean, that is one thing that is one thing that I had feared about Takeshita, and it seems like he is going to be using him in a more featured role as well, which is good, you know. And I'll give credit where credit is due. It's just you see with this stuff with Hobbs, and you know, you and I are both big Hobbs fans, you know. And part of this is a podcast for two wrestling fans.
Yes.
You know, and so we're gonna be upset when shit just doesn't make sense. Yeah. And our guy loses and it doesn't make any sense. You know? This TNT title, it might as well be nothing. It's like the Yolo County tag title means more.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
I know.
So anyways, we're not gonna say everything that went down in this
no, because
it's
too damn long. It's too damn long. When you, as mentioned, when you have Jungle Boy open the show to do a promo, you're asking people to turn the channel. You know,
you are.
Jungle Boy is a really good wrestler. He needs a lot of work on the promo stuff, and even before he gets a word in, they have Sammy Guevara come out. Before he finishes his first sentence, they have Darby Allin interrupt him, and it's just all, hey, this is what we have in common. This is what I like about you, but this is what I don't like about you. I respect you more than him, but I don't respect you at all because of this. And it's they're trying to set up the dynamic between all four of the pillars, but I kind of feel like they've more or less done that already.
They covered this ground in the first week.
Yeah,
when they were all in there. Yeah,
we all know kind of like their status and roles relative to the other pillars. We know that because we watch the program every week.
Yeah,
we know that.
Yeah, I will say this. The one guy who does seem to be making some ground in digging himself out of that hole that he dug for himself is Sammy Guevara. He is sort of, and I have no idea, like in terms of the plot twist this week with Sammy Guevara, I don't know how it's going to play out. We're going to talk about that. I would imagine a lot. But his promo stuff, it is the most it is the most confident. It is the most assured of everybody but MJF.
Yeah, I mean, Darby even this week seemed nervous.
He did, yeah. I noticed that too. I'm glad you noticed that because he seemed like to take a step back almost.
And like he was like, so he opened up with the first major bit, and most of his material was more or less like talking crap about the other two pillars in the ring with him.
I think he got lost a little bit.
It may be because I was like, that kind of seems like a step in a different direction from what we had seen the prior couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You know, and so Jack's on the defensive and has to like fire back with a couple of shots, and it's all just kind of middling kind of insults and whatnot. It's just not the most captivating stuff.
Well, after that first week, like where else are you supposed to take it but familiar ground?
Yeah,
and that's what this was. It was like, you know, that first week. They sort of all piled on to MJF, but they also sort of targeted each other a little bit. And now it was like squarely focused on, I don't like you because this, and I respect you actually more than this guy. And it's like, why do we care? Like, there's no reason to care about any of this stuff.
No, like when it first started seeming like this is a story they were headed towards for Double or Nothing. The idea of Jungle Boy, Sammy, and Darby trying to get as many matches as they can so they can win to make their case better for a title shot. Yeah. Again, the storytelling through action as opposed to just having a bunch of people in the ring talking. You know, and then there's developments there. And then, hey, look, guess what? And they mentioned the rankings last night. For the first time in forever.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That was a little oddball, yeah.
So, you know, if the idea is like, all right, there's 3 wrestlers who've been in the company from the beginning, and they're all jockeying for a title shot, how are they going to best make that case? Not by standing in the ring talking for 20 minutes, because MJF will blow them all out of the water on the mic. You know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for sure.
You have them compete.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about that now. What we thought was going to be a 4 pillars fail.
It still could be. It still
4-way is now. You're right. Let's talk this through. What was going to be a 4 pillars 4-way suddenly turned into a 3 pillars tournament, where MJF picked a name out of a hat, which would get a bye. That ended up being Darby, and the other 2 fought in the main event. Yeah. And so, but that led to MJF helping Sammy because they arranged a deal for, was it like Sammy to lay down to MJF?
Something like that, maybe. It was still unclear who Sammy is supposed to lay down for, but I assume MJF. So the idea is MJF gave Sammy a blank check, write in however much you want,
right?
And I'll guarantee you a spot in the main event of a pay-per-view.
Yes, but then he said, "But all you have to do
is lay down." Yeah,
is lay down. What? I'm really sad that you didn't grasp onto this, because I was like, Larson will get this.
No, I don't understand the logic of it.
When is he supposed to lay down?
I assume in the main event of the pay-per-view.
That sounds like a terrible pay-per-view.
It does. Why would you want to watch the main event of a pay-per-view end in someone in a finger poke of doom, essentially?
Yeah. I'm trying to see if chat has an idea as to what that situation was. So I'll keep an eye on that. But anyways, so that leads to an alliance now.
Yeah.
Between MJF and Sammy Guevara. MJF helped. Okay, so Mayor Planner says he wants Sammy to lose the title match for money.
Yes, that's what I get. Okay, yes, that's what I gathered then too. Yeah.
Okay. So MJF, and look, I'm fine with plot twists and stuff. Let's try to maneuver this back into a fatal 4-way because there's still like a lot of time left.
Yeah.
You can still do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it's a situation where MJF ultimately sullies this tournament that he devised, then it could be a situation where off camera, Tony Khan would be like, no, this doesn't work. Shivani can make the announcement. Max, due to your interference in this tournament that you want to do, it's not going to be Sammy Guevara versus MJF. It's going to be Fatal 4-Way or something like that. But if that's the scenario, why go through all the pain of doing this tournament for nothing when it doesn't really enhance the story much?
I mean, maybe, man, I'm just spitballing here. Maybe the idea was, well, we've done enough of the MJF trials that something like that would have been too much. Like if MJF said, hey, Darby, you beat somebody you haven't beat before, somebody who's beaten you before. You have to beat this person if you want a shot at this. And he does that to everybody. He says, Sammy, you have to beat, I don't know, somebody, the same thing. Everybody has to beat somebody they haven't beaten before, or it's somebody they notoriously lost to in a major way. Or even, well, no, that wouldn't make any sense. But maybe MJF dictating the terms would be too reminiscent of what he's already done.
Yeah.
Maybe therein lies the thinking.
What maybe they should have done is, rather than doing a standard tournament, do a round robin tournament where each of them has to wrestle the other one. It all ends in a 3-way tie.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a decent enough idea as well. But yeah, I don't know how so right now Sammy and MJF, so I'm assuming the same situation will go down next week where Sammy and Darby fight. Yeah. MJF, let's say MJF tries to get involved with that, but maybe Sting is able to, sort of take MJF out of the equation.
Maybe this is all really leading to Sting versus MJF for the title of Double or Nothing.
Oh, Sting wins again. I'd be sick to see Sting as a thing. So anyways, so neither of us can crack it. Anyway, so we get this.
No, this is convoluted nonsense. Again, they're overthinking. they're overthinking the situation. Where it seems clear as day that either they wanted the 4-way match and thought twice about it, or we're still going to get the 4-way match, but we're going to have these needless twists and turns rather than telling a simple, actually compelling story leading up to the main event of your pay-per-view.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. They maybe they considered the 4-way and they were like, no, we don't want to do this. Tony was like, I don't want to do that. I want the guy that we're pushing. By the way, was there an All Access this week?
No.
Okay, good, because I didn't watch it. There was none for me to watch. Instead, I watched the Picard finale this morning, and it was amazing. Anyways, is there the possibility the guy they've been pushing on All Access? I sort of brought this up before All Access came on. Are they going to use All Access, even though it was shot 6 months ago, to further some stuff that's going out? One of the main threads on All Access is Sammy Guevara thinks he's world championship material.
Yeah.
Are they going to do just a solo match between Sammy and MJF? Is this big thing just a ruse from Sammy and we're going to get a real match at the pay-per-view, just those two? Are we going to see if Sammy Guevara is a selling point with MJF in the main event of Double or Nothing, which clearly is going to be overshadowed by probably, well, no, Punk is still a month after that.
Yeah.
But
it'll probably be whatever the Elite and Blackpool Combat Club end up doing.
Yeah, right. That's going to be the big selling point.
No, I could see that happening. And if they don't do the 4-way, if they stick to this tournament thing and have it be Sammy and MJF at the pay-per-view, and of course Sammy's going to say, yeah, I'll take your money, but then I'm going to try to win the match anyways, That's not a massive swerve that no one's going to see coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, you run the risk of having your world title match potentially be overshadowed by a blood and guts, or as Ferlicious here mentions the Anarchy and the Arena type bout between Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite, which would probably be absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And to have a match between Sammy and MJF in the main event and have it end like all MJF matches end with either a shot from the ring or some sort of cheating.
Yeah.
It's going to be overshadowed. The potential is there for it to be overshadowed. Look, Sammy and Jungle Boy in the main event last night, they went out there and beat the hell out of each other.
They're all great wrestlers.
Yeah, they're fantastic performers. But of the three other pillars outside of MJF, the only one I kind of maybe see as a legit main eventer is Darby Allin at this point.
Yeah, you don't see Sammy there yet?
No.
Okay.
I don't. I definitely don't see Jungle Boy there yet.
I think when Sammy's like number 2 in his own faction, I think you're right about that. I think that a tremendous opportunity was missed back when they did that. I forget where it was at. Probably Forbidden. No, I don't know where it was. The Ring of Honor Championship Fatal 4-Way, where Sammy kind of turned on Jericho for some of the match. Yeah. For them not to pull the trigger on Sammy there. Yeah. Because I think that crowd was ready for him to turn on Jericho. And if you wanted to establish him as his own guy. But yeah, I kind of feel that. I think Darby has been that guy. I think Sammy's grown a lot on the mic. I think he's done pretty well for himself.
He has. You know, if this was a year from now, maybe. But I just feel like right now, I know Sammy's a huge part of All Access. And, you know, this is no slight at Sammy Guevara he's a great in-ring worker. He is. And he's starting to come around from the character perspective.
Yeah.
But just at this juncture, he doesn't. I don't know if I see him as pay-per-view main eventer yet.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's a bad point. Darby so easily has the crowd behind him as well.
Yeah,
and especially with Sting there, and he has for a while. Sammy really dug himself into a hole with that crowd. Yes. He's slowly coming around, but I think you're right. I think he's probably not there yet. And if it's going to be Darby versus MJF at the pay-per-view, yeah, I could see them trying to make a big deal about that, you know. Yeah. And like we said this on our Fix AEW video. Rolling with your youth is a good idea. Putting them in main event scenes right now is a good idea, even if they don't, go all the way with it.
Now, I thought if they were going to make this match the 4-way match, the main event of Double or Nothing, they can maybe get over the perception that not all of them are necessarily main eventers yet by telling an intriguing story. Obviously, that's not happening. And if you tell an interesting story about the dynamic between these 4 people, and it seems like they're trying with all this promo time, it's just not the most effective way to do it.
Because, I wonder if it could entirely be, this would not shock me if Tony Khan sort of said to those 4 guys, hey, do some stuff about you guys and try to do what you're saying. But there's not that one person directing them saying, hey, this is where you should each be coming from. It seems like they might just be coming up with their own shit as well.
That could be.
I have no idea, but it seems like there's a bit of a lack of focus to really hammer home the drama and the tension.
Yeah, there really is. And so it just seems like they're going to the same material week after week.
Yeah.
And not really advancing the story. But if it's a situation where they set up what the stakes are and what each of them needs to do to get to where they need to be to get a title opportunity. And then you tell the story of them trying to get there.
Yeah.
That's something that maybe, they could feel under pressure and try to interfere in each other's matches or something like that to cost, one of the other pillars a potential opportunity to get the title shot.
Yeah.
Because then you have obvious tension there.
Yeah,
and
for
it's
sure.
Immediate and it's urgent. You know exactly what it is. And like the idea of, well, you got an easier path to get here than me. All right.
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah,
I've heard that
my
before.
Circumstances were different than yours. Yeah, nothing to do about that.
I'm not exactly swayed by that so much.
Yeah.
But if like Jungle Boy has a match that he needs to win to tie with Darby and Sammy doesn't want that, so he tries to cost Jungle Boy the match. It fails. All right, there's tension there, and it's obvious. That's kind of
cool. Yeah, and it's all rooted in competition and and people trying to prevent wins from happening. Yeah, no, I feel you. So, anyways, that long ass promo thing happened, and they set up the tournament with MJF picking a name out of a hat. That was Darby. So we get a little bit more of that later on. After that, we had the Outcasts versus Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. The Outcasts were Tony and Ruby. Yeah, a good match, fun stuff.
Britt's parents were ringside.
Yeah, Saraya was mixing up, trying to take one of those flags, one of those little
terrible towels.
Terrible towel, yeah, from because they're in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
trying to take it from her, and she said no, and then she spray painted her instead.
Yeah.
But anyways, Team Outcast gets the L here. Britt hits Ruby with a stomp, forms Tony off the apron, goes for a cover, but Ruby kicks out, and then Britt is able to lock in the lockjaw. Ruby taps out, but the Outcasts aren't done with Hayter and Britt Baker. We'll find out a bit more of that later, but first, Renee had an interview with Wardlow, a bit of an unfortunate interview.
Yeah, so she asked Wardlow, do you got a different approach tonight? And he says, I do. It wasn't that long ago that I had a horseman ringside with me who taught me about evening the playing field. So I decided to reach out to another horseman. So Arn Anderson steps in and says, Wardlow, I've always liked you. Let me get this right. They knocked the windows out of your car, took your cash, your credit cards, your passport. Yeah, that's all kid stuff. Until they took your title. So I want to say is, do you want to kind of do what I used to do? Trying to have a group of your own like the Horsemen. That wakes people up. Tully was a smart guy. He probably taught you how to be the best at checkers in all of AEW. But I'm telling you, starting tonight, you better get ready because we're about to start playing chess.
So is he going to start a group? Because Arn said, are you trying to lead a group like the Horsemen?
Yeah, I heard what Arn said.
And Wardlow just sort of didn't say anything.
No, he didn't react at all.
He's like, look, I just need an old guy with a gun.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not trying to start a faction.
Not even a real gun, a pretend gun.
Can you do
the
idea
of a gun?
Can you give the gun finger and really intimidate people? Because
apparently QT is frightened, just about craps his pants,
right,
by a gun finger.
Right. Yeah. Again, that's the guy you put with Hobbs. Good Lord.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious that Tony Khan doesn't know what he wants to do with Wardlow, what he wants his character to be, who he is as a performer, as a character. And I understand, like, on one hand, I understand, appreciate, put him with Arn Anderson. Arn's, he knows the pro wrestling business, known as a great talker, a great character guy, and a hell of a performer in the ring himself.
Yeah.
So if they're kind of following suit with the idea of what we saw with Sting, with Jungle Boy, with Sammy, where you have a young talent, you give them a mentor, an on-screen mentor.
Yeah.
To see if that'll unlock something that'll help Wardlow. I get that. I feel like we're a little too far in the process, though, with Wardlow, for him to take that step back and have a mentor at this point.
Yeah, I kind of feel it. So here's the thing. Wardlow shouldn't need a guy to equalize. He should be and look, I know I've advocated, I've said, when I saw him a couple weeks ago with Britt Baker on All Access, that, hey, man, that Wardlow is cool. Like, we've talked about that interview we did talking about his dad.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's dropped the ball so hardcore on Wardlow. When he tries to be genuine, he comes off as awkward.
Yeah.
Like that. The sit down was great, but then this one, just the stand up interview, like, I just feel like it should have been framed maybe a little bit different. Like, maybe produce it up into a video package as opposed to an interview, because it just didn't. I don't know. It just didn't speak to me. It didn't
know what they should have done. Remember that bit where Cody comes out of his house and goes down to like the beach or something, and there's Arn with the oil barrel on fire just standing there?
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Have Arn show up in front of Wardlow's house. With same situation.
Yeah, with a oil drum burning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wardlow's like, how'd you get that thing over there? It's pretty heavy, isn't it?
I know.
Throws him with the gun. Whoa, buddy.
I mean, because here's the thing. Still, at this juncture, Wardlow's getting Goldberg chants when he's about to win a match.
Yeah, that's probably not great.
And you don't want that. You want people chanting Wardlow, not Goldberg.
Wardlow, not Goldberg.
Yeah.
Do they think that the AEW fans think they're going to be able to manifest TK signing Goldberg?
That's not the vibe I got.
They're just like, hey, you remind us of Goldberg.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get the idea. Make him more relatable, maybe. Put him in front of the mic, and he'll sound genuine. And that's not a terrible
But here's
concept.
the thing, though. If you're going to put him with Arn, Arn's going to be doing most of the talking.
Yeah, which is a good thing, honestly.
Yeah, because Arn's good.
Because Arn's good at talking. Yeah. That dude will just say some shit. You won't even know.
But the problem with that is that you risk not giving Wardlow those reps on the mic for him to actually improve his own mic work.
Yeah, he's so far off from that, though. He is so far off from that. They need I don't know. So anyways, they're about to play chess. We have the Elite coming to the ring for a promo. Kenny says, these past couple weeks have been some of the most difficult in my life. Blackpool Combat Club, you were 4 of the most respected pro wrestlers on the planet. That wasn't until you made my best friends bleed. Send my uncle to the hospital. You send my friends in ambulances with them. I can't sleep at night. And one image sears to the back of my brain, that image of seeing the screwdriver in that top turnbuckle. And the one thing I wish I could change about that night is taking that screwdriver out of the turnbuckle and plunging it into your face, John Moxley. Wow.
That was great.
Wants to stab him in the brain. He says, so what we had tonight, it wasn't a meet and greet. It wasn't a get to know you with the fans. I didn't really have much to say. The purpose of us being out here is an invitation. Blackpool Combat Club, I want to see you guys in the ring and settle like men. Let's squash the beef. And then the brilliant Bryan Danielson.
Oh, this was great.
Who's
this
so
was
awesome.
Great.
He shows
this
up on the trial. What does he say?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Talk about amateurs. You guys have interview time? You come out and say, I don't have much to say? Who's going to pay to see a monologue from a bunch of amateurs? Nobody pays to see open mic night in a comedy club. And as he's talking to distract the elite, Claudio, Yuta, and Mox hit the ring. A huge brawl breaks out. The Young Bucks send Claudio and Yuta over the barricade. And Kenny and Mox brawl eventually. Matt hits a bunch of Northern Light suplexes on the floor. Kenny comes over with a chair. Then Mox comes behind and chokes him. Kenny drives him into the apron to break that up. Starts pummeling Mox with a bunch of punches against the barricade. In the ring, Yuta takes Matt's bad arm and blasts it with the belt. Starts punching at his arm. Nick's in there trying to break it up. Claudio power bombs the absolute shit out of him.
Dude, he kills him. Yeah, that was awesome.
Kenny hits a huge German suplex, and then Mox hits Kenny with a Death Rider. So then Danielson walks the ring and says exactly what I thought. Nothing but a bunch of amateurs. Except you, Kenny. You're the one who I thought would be a professional, but I guess not. So Don Callis runs out the ramp with a chair. Stops. Runs backstage. So you think he's just being a coward again. So Danielson continues.
Danielson laughs at him when he shows up with the chair. He's like, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah, it was great. So Danielson continues, says, that's the type of people Kenny surrounds himself with. Kenny is not an amateur. Kenny has more potential than anybody, but he'd rather just sit in the lobby of his own potential. What a good line.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, he needs to be gone. So Danielson pulls out the screwdriver again while the rest of the Blackpool Combat Club hold up Kenny. So this time, Callis comes back down the ramp with Takeshita. Mm-hmm. And Takeshita takes out Yuta, gets in the ring, throws Claudio over the top rope, forearms Mox to the floor, and he's standing between Kenny and Bryan Danielson. Well, Yuta tries to sneak attack. Takeshita fends him off. Kenny hits Yuta with a V-trigger, and then Takeshita follows the Blue Thunder Bomb. So Blackpool Combat Club, I'm out of here. They leave.
Yeah.
So then Don Callis gets in the ring and starts raising the arms of everybody.
Mm-hmm. So,
what's the angles here? What's the angles here is what it is, because Callis is up to something.
So either Callis and Takeshita are going to join Blackpool Combat Club.
Uh-huh.
How much cooler would it be if Kenny joined the Blackpool Combat Club?
Well, I think that's kind of why Danielson's making that pitch.
Yeah. Kenny should join. That'd be amazing.
That'd be something else.
That would be, because Kenny is so good as a heel. He's so much fun as a bad guy. And for him to be sort of that cartoonish bad guy when everybody else is like a grounded bad guy.
Yeah.
That could be a lot of fun.
I feel like Danielson is getting into cartoonish.
You're right. No, you're absolutely
right now.
Yeah.
You know what could happen is Callis and Takeshita could join Blackpool Combat Club, and it'd be like, hey, Kenny, join us. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, Kenny's stuck between wanting to be with Callis and wanting to be with the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
Maybe Kota Ibushi.
Yeah.
Arrives in AEW.
That could be.
So, you know, we have Kenny, the Young Bucks, Kota Ibushi, and then you got Hangman, where you got to rebuild the trust between Hangman and Kenny.
I think that's probably where it's going to be.
5 of them. Then you got 4 members of the Blackpool Combat Club plus Takeshita.
Yeah. And I think, to be honest with you, as much as I'd love to see heel Kenny, and that would be my preference, Takeshita in the Blackpool Combat Club, as we've seen with Wheeler Yuta, who's a lot more entertaining as a bad guy. As an absolute
shithead. Just a
right,
shithead,
exactly. Yes. The same formula with Dom Mysterio. You know, he was unwatchable as a good guy, but as a piece of shit, he is the most entertaining thing.
Yep.
Letting Takeshita be a bad guy could do wonders for him.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute wonders for him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, one of the 2 interesting stories going on in AEW right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next, we had Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yep. Yeah.
And even with interference, even with Harley camera distracting, even with QT hitting diamond cutters, Wardlow still wins.
Yeah. Hits a pop-up power bomb, and then gets another power bomb.
Yeah.
For the win. Didn't even have to do 5 or something.
No, I think it was 3 total, wasn't it?
Was it 3 total?
Yeah, it was
hit
3
one
total.
first?
Pop-up power bomb, regular power bomb, and he starts doing the symphony stuff, and then another one, so 3 total.
It was 3.
We did see Arn Anderson hit a DDT on QT Marshall, so there's a certain amount of satisfaction of that. But
I was really hoping for a spine buster.
I know, but not at the expense of Hobbs losing that title. So not only does Hobbs lose, but as soon as Wardlow gets the belt hand raised, then you got that creepy little bastard Christian.
Creepy little bastard.
Coming out with Luchasaurus, so they've already moved on. Moved on.
Yeah.
So how did Hobbs benefit from this whatsoever?
No, it made it worse. It made it worse for him, because before this he had the momentum with all the Book of Hobbs stuff, right? It's like, what's next for him? Who's he gonna wreck? Now it's, he looks like an asshole. And if he doesn't wreck, which this isn't going to happen, but if he doesn't wreck QT Marshall on the next episode of whatever the fuck,
yeah,
then it's just that's what you do next to salvage this.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to salvage it. He's just going to meander. Until I'm proven wrong.
How many weeks have we been saying that he's got to just absolutely destroy QT? Hobbs does.
Yeah. And I'm not looking for validation for my fantasy book. I'm looking for some good stories. That's all I want.
Yep. Agreed. I just want character development, stories, and talent being pushed to their fullest potential.
People doing cool shit is all I ask for in my wrestling. And I'm sorry, but a TMZ knockoff is not cool shit.
Nope.
Like, you could do that without Hobbs. You could do that with, you could just if you really want QTV, you could literally just do that in its own vacuum, where a couple of clowns are talking shit about various people in AEW. Like, there is some perhaps value comedic wise for that to somebody, not necessarily to me. But like, you don't even need to put them with wrestlers, you know?
No.
You don't need to run ropes.
No.
So, anyways,
not at all. No, and like, there's not even like a logical reason for something like QTV, that idea for, that faction's gimmick to align with what Hobbs was doing anyways.
It doesn't make any sense.
There's no overlap.
Was there ever like an explanation from Hobbs, like why?
Oh, it was QT owed me from the Ricky Starks feud.
Yeah.
Which, okay, if you want QT to help you one time, that makes sense.
Yeah. Then he should get, yeah. Anyways, that's dumb. After that, we had a Sammy Guevara interview. So here's where the big MJF thing happened. So Renee asked how he felt about tonight. MJF walks in. And he says, Sammy's like, what are you doing here? And MJF says, I feel like me and you, for whatever reason, we got off on the wrong foot, going back to those Inner Circle days. Want you to know that I actually kind of like you. You're a great guy. Sammy's like, what do you want? MJF says, I believe I have an agreement that would behoove both of us. He says, I heard what you said tonight, and it really tugged on my heartstrings to hear you say you're sick and tired of all the other pillars getting more successful than you from the sidelines. Your words, not mine. So here's what I'm offering. A guaranteed spot in the Double or Nothing main event for the AEW title. All you have to do is lay down. Sammy says, there it is. There's always something with you. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to beat Jungle Boy tonight. Then I'm going to beat Darby. Then I'm going to beat you for the AEW title. That's what's going to happen. MJF says, you're a great talent. I think you're better than Jungle Boy and Darby combined. Let's talk math here. Let's talk odds. The likelihood of you beating not just one pillar or two pillars, but the third, and one of them is a generational talent, slim to none. Once again, I'm offering you a main event spot at a pay-per-view that you've never been in before for the grandest prize of them all. And I'm also offering a rent check with your name on a blank check with your name on it. Your note says rent check.
I think he described it as a rent check.
Oh, did he? I'm sorry. I thought he called it a blank check. Okay.
Yeah. I could be wrong.
That'd be kind of, no, if he said rent check, that's kind of clever. He says, with your name on it, just write what you want. I know you won't go crazy. So Sammy writes on the check. And then MJF says, whoa, my God, seriously, this is your price? Sammy says, yes. MJF says, all right, you got yourself a deal. Sammy says, well, friends don't shake hands because MJF puts his hand out.
Yeah.
He says, friends hug. They do a big cheesy hug.
Yeah. Yeah. Then we got Commander against Jay White. Jay White's AEW in-ring debut. And Sean Spears was sitting ringside. Apparently he has issues with Jay White for some reason.
Yeah, I was distracted by Sean Spears' attire. He had on like some blue slacks and then just a blue vest with nothing on underneath it. But yeah, he had a problem with Jay White. He was putting up like scorecards.
Yeah, so he scored a Commander's moonsault. A 10. Jay White's win following a Blade Runner. 5.
Just a 5. Yeah.
So
Jay White was like very confused by all that. He was like, why are you doing that? Why are you rating me?
You know, man, I love Jay White's crap talk during the match. It's so good.
He is awesome, dude. I love him so much.
He is so damn good. What'd you think of after Jay wins? Juice hip tosses Sean Spears over the barricade, puts him in the ring. So they start beating up on him, and then Ricky Starks comes to make the save and sends Jay White and Juice running, and they're on the ramp, and you hear Juice go, Ricky!
I'll be honest, man. You know what? The way you've turned around on Jeff Jarrett, I'm starting to turn around on Juice Robinson.
Oh, I knew it was going to happen.
I don't know why. Like, I think oddly AEW is using him in the way that I find appealing as opposed to how he was used in New Japan. Like, he was supposed to be some badass in New Japan. I'm like, I don't believe that. You know, the dude who every move and catchphrase he has is some euphemism for sex. He should be kind of a clown a little bit, you know, like good wrestler, but kind of a clown and a sidekick to a cool guy like Jay White. Mm-hmm. I'm down with that. I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. Yeah. When he called Ricky Starks Sweet Boy is when I was like, okay, there it is. That's it right there. I can get on board with that.
Then it clicked. Everything clicked for you.
Sweet boy.
Yeah. Then we got an FTR interview. The Jay White Commander match was good. Jay White. I really appreciated that Jay White, the first 2 times Commander tried to do the rope walk thing, did everything he could to prevent it. Mm-hmm, and how they structured that match to build to that moment, I thought was really well done, rather than just doing it right out of the gate, you know?
Let me ask you this about Jay White. After we've had 2 or 3 weeks now of sample size.
Yeah.
What is realistically your thoughts about where he's going to be a year from now? Like, what's the top he's clearly like going to be at very least an international title guy. He should be an AEW World Champion guy.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know that that's ever going to happen. If Malachi isn't sniffing that scene yet, then he ain't going to be sniffing.
I mean,
that
based
scene.
on what we see in AEW when they bring people in and how they've utilized them, you can't confidently say that Jay White, who should be a main eventer anywhere he goes, will within a year be in the main event scene in AEW.
Yeah. Dude, here's the thing. I don't want anybody, and I say this tongue in cheek, in our chat, people are saying TNT champion. TNT championship at this point is a 24/7 title. It's a little bit higher than that, but it's like dog shit. It's like this title doesn't mean anything.
No, the international title seems more prestigious at this juncture.
It does. It really does. It honestly does. Orange Cassidy has taken really good care of that title. Mm-hmm. Like it means
his reign feels like it means something.
Yeah. That's the title. That's sort of the Intercontinental Championship, and the TNT title is whatever.
Yeah. Feels that way.
Yeah,
it does feel that way. So then we got an FTR interview. Renee tells him that Mark Briscoe is being evaluated by a medical staff because something happened earlier. And so on the monitor behind plays Mark getting attacked by, I guess, the Trust Busters Varsity Athletes Amalgam faction. And FTR is like, he's a medical? All right. So they run off and they go into the medical office. And there's Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh there with Mark as he's getting evaluated. Mm-hmm. And Mark's like, no, I'm fine. While he's doing that, you know, the Lethal Jarrett faction's arguing with FTR.
Yeah.
And Mark just goes, stop. Listen, boys, I'm ready to roll tonight, right now. So who wants to come to the ring with me? And everybody's like, no, you should rest. You just got attacked. We'll go out there and take care of this for you. And Mark says, all right, FTR, you're on a team with Lethal and Jarrett. And they're all like, all right, we'll do it for you, Mark.
And Jared immediately says, all right, you guys follow our lead. You guys follow our lead. And then Dax starts saying, you do what we do. Okay. You do what we do. And Jared keeps on saying, no, you follow our lead. You follow our lead.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny stuff.
It's somewhat entertaining. Yes.
Yeah, it is. It is. After that, no, anything. I am glad that Mark Briscoe is finding television time.
Me too.
I'm really happy about that, and he's a centerpiece of like my favorite faction in AEW, and that's the Jarrett stuff.
Yeah.
And that match actually should be a lot of fun. Is that happening on Rampage or something?
I think so.
Okay, that match will be fun. It really will be. Like that shit. The last week on Rampage with them was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. It was.
After that, we had the Chris Jericho Adam Cole thing. So Jericho says, he asked the crowd, do you guys love Adam Cole? Cole says, Chris Jericho, for anybody who's followed my career, they know that I've studied and idolized you. A lot of the foundation of Adam Cole, the wrestler, was inspired by Chris Jericho. Heck, my catchphrase was inspired by Chris Jericho. Baby. So I remember being in high school and reading your first book, and you talked about traveling the globe and learning all these different styles in wrestling. And I remember saying, I want to be like Chris Jericho. Now here we are. And Chris Jericho and Adam Cole are in the ring in Pittsburgh for the first time ever. I think that's pretty damn cool. So, Chris, let me start by saying I have a ton of respect for you. Jericho offers his hand. Cole shakes it. Jericho says, Adam Cole, baby. I'm glad you said those kind words. I greatly appreciate that. I've been watching a bunch of your stuff recently and thinking a lot about this, and I really want to say from the bottom of my heart, I have absolutely zero respect for you. As a matter of fact, I think you're kind of an arrogant son of a bitch. You had the audacity last week to interrupt my championship celebration and come down and give your buddy Keith Lee a handshake. It's unacceptable for talent as legendary as Chris Jericho, and you're lucky I don't slap your dumb face right now. So Cole says, see, I was afraid you were going to go this route because lately me and a lot of people in Pittsburgh think you've been a real jagoff. So the crowd starts chanting jagoff. Cole continues, I mean, how hypocritical can you be? You surround yourself with your minions, the JAS. They look at you like you're a god. But speaking of looking, when's the last time you looked at yourself in the mirror and asked, who is the real Chris Jericho? Is the real Chris Jericho an egomaniac that has the JAS win his matches for him? Or is the real Chris Jericho the GOAT, the demo god, one of the absolute greatest to ever do this? You know who I think the real Chris Jericho is? I think the real Chris Jericho is an insecure, fickle, stupid idiot. Chris, don't you forget, you wanted to confront me, and I'm right here. I don't want to play games anymore. No more coming down to the ring and giving side-eye. You wanted my attention, you got it. So now what? So Cole gets in Jericho's face. Jericho says, first of all, I am not a jagoff. Second of all, you don't impress me, Cole, so let me say this. You know how the saying goes, you never want to meet your idols, but in this case, it's 100% true. You don't want to see me, know me, have anything to do with me. So if you're smart, you'll turn around and get out of the ring that Jericho built right here, right effing now. What am I going to do about it? How about this? Jericho shoves Cole. Cole responds with a bunch of kicks. Garcia hits the ring. He and Jericho beat down Cole. Britt Baker comes down to the ring, peels Jericho off Cole. Britt slaps Jericho. The Outcasts come out of nowhere. They get in the ring behind Britt while she's chewing out Jericho. They hit her with a bunch of shots while Garcia handcuffs Cole to the ropes. Garcia brings a kendo stick into the ring. He gives it to Jericho. Cole's like trying to get the focus onto him. He's like, come on, hit me. I dare you, hit me. Jericho instead turns to the Outcasts, hands the stick to Saraya. She starts pummeling Britt with a bunch of shots of the kendo stick. Cole's like, stop. And she's like, Austin, help me. And he can't. He's just screaming out. Yeah. They just keep on going at it. And then Saraya stops, gives Jericho a big hug. The Jericho appreciation side of the Outcast pose, and they all leave as Britt crawls towards Cole. And I thought it was a really effective segment. I thought it was really good stuff.
Yeah, it was pretty effective. It's the one thing is that it's gonna take some getting used to see Adam Cole as a babyface. I'm so used to seeing him as heel Adam Cole.
You know what makes it easier though? All the times we've rated his channel.
Oh, knowing that he's like the most pleasant guy. I mean, it's gonna make it easy, but in terms of the performer of Adam Cole, yeah, I'm so used to seeing him do a certain thing.
Be a bad guy. I'm kind of curious to see where this Chugs version of Adam Cole goes on the TV, man, because I like it, and I think from what I see right now, I think he's the guy that they have pegged to take that title off MJF.
I think so too. I think
that's the case. After that, we had a Hardy's promo where Matt says Stokely's lawyer's been asking him when the firm deletion is going to happen. He says, keep your phones out to find out. And then Jeff says he's going to address the situation on Rampage.
Yep. Then we got a pretty quick bout here between 2.0 and Jake Hager versus the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed win this. Daddy Magic did not get his nipples cut off with scissors. But Bowens hits the arrival on Parker. And Caster follows with the mic drop, and that seems to be the end of this feud, because if the Acclaimed had lost, they'd have been forced to join JAS, apparently.
Yeah.
That was the stipulation. So
yeah.
I'm guessing this is over, and hopefully they got something else for the Acclaimed, and hopefully that something else in the near future involves beating FTR for those titles.
That'd be good. That'd be cool. I feel like Tony Khan usually has a problem like pitting two really popular acts against each other. But regardless, that'd be a hell of a match. I mean, that's one thing. FTR, they did have some fucking awesome matches last year. They are some terrific wrestlers.
They are.
And you know what, man? Sometimes you just gotta roll the dice. Let the crowd choose, and then you put those titles back on the Acclaimed. Anyways, and then we had our main event. Sammy Guevara versus Jungle Boy. And yeah, no, like you said, just a terrific match. Just really, really great stuff.
Out of the gate, like within the first couple minutes, there was a couple suicide dives, a tope, a Spanish fly. From the opening bell, they just put everything out there.
Yeah.
That Spanish fly spot off the apron to the floor. Ow. That was rough.
Yeah, that was rough. That was sick. That was something else.
So the finish sees Jungle Boy catching a jumping knee from Sammy, locks on the snare trap. Sammy gets to the bottom rope, so Jungle Boy puts Sammy in the tree of woe, climbs up to the top. Sammy escapes, drop kicks Jungle Boy off the top rope onto the timekeeper table, face first. So ref starts counting. So Jungle Boy's crawling towards the ring on the verge of getting back in. Sammy starts distracting the ref. MJF comes to ringside, punches Jungle Boy with the Dynamite diamond ring, and then Sammy sees that happen, says to Bryce, the ref, all right, keep counting. And so the ref finishes his count. Sammy wins by count out, and afterwards MJF gets the ring and hugs Sammy, puts him on his shoulders to celebrate a bit, eventually puts him down, gets on the corner to pose, and while he's doing that, Sammy picks up the AEW title, looks at it for a bit. Like, all right, here you go, buddy.
Yeah, so we'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's go ahead and answer some questions. You know how people can submit their questions to Going In Raw?
I mean, I know, but...
Well, yeah, no, I was just, I throw it to you and then you throw it back at me. How, Steve?
Tell me how.
All right. I'm glad you asked. You get on the Patreon, patreon.com/Steven. Man, I'm gonna have some pizza tonight for Game 3 for patreon.com.
It's going to be my GM and pizza tonight for Steve.
Oh my God. My GM's going to be during the game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's going to suck. Yeah. Patreon.com/Steven Larson. $5 and up gets you not just the bonus stuff, which we're going to do an overrun tomorrow. Yes. It gets you access to the big predictions challenges we do every single month. And then also it gets you access to the questions threads.
Indeed.
So all that stuff. So all you got to do, you just click join on the YouTube, or you head over to patreon.com/Steve and Larson. Dope says the game starts at 7. My GM tonight's going to start at 6:30.
Yeah.
So we'll be done.
You don't like watching the game anyways.
Oh, it gives me such anxiety.
Yeah, you just focus on my GM, carefree.
But that's the thing. During the game, it's like I'm waiting for a loved one to come out of an operation. I can't think of anything else, but I don't want to watch the operation.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
It's a loose metaphor, granted. A little different.
Well, I understand. I guess I understand the sentiment.
I can't divorce myself of what's going on in the moment.
Completely, yes. I understand that.
So you'll have the advantage. It's like a spa card. You'll have the advantage. It's a power card. Yeah. Book a Kings game during my GM to distract your opponent.
Well, get everything set up for your stuff before the game. So all you got to do is just plug it in, and then what happens?
Yeah, I need to book my Extreme Rules thing right here in my little notepad.
Yeah, I got a thing. Before we get to questions, we got 510 people watching right now on the YouTube. Hopefully countless more watching this VOD if you could. When you get to this point, if you hadn't done it already. Give this show a like, press that thumbs up button. That really helps us out. And if you're new, hit that subscribe, notify bell if you're enjoying what you've seen so far. We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Anyways, let me hop on the YouTube question thread here.
I got one here from High Plains Drifter. What are they doing to Hobbs, for fuck's sakes?
I think we talked a lot about that at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Nothing good, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, so, by the way, just to reiterate here, if we've already addressed some of the questions.
Yeah, we might not ask.
We might, yeah. So, like Odd Breakfast, for example, says, how do you think the Pillar storyline will continue to lead to a 4-way? We tried to figure that one out, but we couldn't really figure it out.
Yeah.
Jeremy says, we talked about how the higher up card guys like Jericho, Elite, Mox, and Bryan all have their own creative control in most ways. Does it hurt the rest of their the card story-wise that Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite feud has most of the dudes in one feud? That's a really good point. If all the creative control guys, or all the guys, and they're not, I think it's just they have stroke. Like Tony Khan has faith. Okay,
they have a more direct line to get their ideas than Tony Khan, I think.
Right. Yes. If they're all in one portion of the show,
yeah,
does that hurt the rest of it? I mean, from what we saw last night, case could be made.
Case can be made. But then, again, the Blackpool Combat Club Elite stuff's pretty good. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah, go ahead.
Mayor Planet Houston, the pillars other than MJF deserve to be pillars. I want to hear your opinions on if they're good enough to be pillars or if they've earned being in the main event story yet.
3 of them do. Darby, Sammy, MJF. I think Jack Perry was brought on to keep him from going from WWE. That's what I think. Because if I remember correctly, there was a lot of interest in him. And he probably would have ended up going to NXT 2.0 or something like that.
Maybe. I mean, he was getting quite a bit of buzz. I know he was getting quite a buzz on the indies prior to AEW. So yeah, when he signed, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it did. But I kind of feel like he would have easily been a target for WWE.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 2.0 wasn't a thing yet, but yeah, no, they pulled him early, and I feel like he probably could have used more time on the independents, but I mean, you're not going to blame AEW for going after talent.
No, and you're not going to blame him for signing a full-time wrestling contract. So,
yeah.
Alex Washington, what is the point of all these title changes with the TNT title, and how can people like Joe, Wardlow, Hobbs lose their titles over and over, but no one can seem to beat Orange Cassidy?
It's inconsistent.
Yeah,
you're right. That doesn't make
make any sense.
Why is it this title is the hot potato title? Why is it all the people that carry this title are incapable of holding on to it, where like the rules of your universe sort of dictate other people have really long title reigns? Why is this one so odd? And there's no answer.
There's no
answer. It's not.
Answer.
Zondo here in chat says Orange Cassidy is better than them. It just doesn't make, that's just not, that's a bit of a nonsensical answer. But that's what we have to assume. Orange Cassidy is just simply better than all them.
Yep, I guess so.
Yeah. Let's see here. Mark Marquez says Wardlow feels like AEW's version of the old Roman Reigns, where they just try to shove him down our throats. Is there any way he can get some of the momentum he had during the MJF feud? I think there is a way they can do it. Hand his creative over to like Jericho or Mox or something.
Yeah.
The ball has been dropped so hardcore with Wardlow.
Really has. Zach Sparks, it feels AEW is misusing the TNT and TBS titles in different ways. Who do you guys think should hold the TNT title for a while to bring more prestige? And who should win the TBS title to make the scene interesting again? So as far as the TBS title, it's not about having someone beat Jade to make the scene interesting. It's about telling stories while she's champion.
Yeah.
And for a vast majority of her reign, she hasn't been involved in stories.
No. Like the best story she's been in, it was like when Nyla Rose stole the title.
Yeah.
And that was pretty funny. No, there's like a decent thing going on right now with the Outcasts. And Jade would be perfect for that.
I know.
She'd be perfect for that.
I know. I don't understand why they.
And it's keeping like the top name talent away from her.
Yeah. I know. As far as the TNT title, again, it's just there needs to be some logic behind title reigns and when people lose the belt.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it comes down to interesting stories. If you tell interesting stories with the TNT champ and the contenders, it's going to make the belt feel more prestigious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whenever someone holds a title, that title should come across as basically the most important thing to them.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
If the champion values the belt, then the belt feels important.
Mm-hmm. Look at Gunther. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Krecklau says, can they justify it with a lights out styles rule to make Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite the actual main event of Double or Nothing? I think it should be, but I get the feeling that Tony Khan is going to book the world title to still main event.
Nikal says, what is Takeshita's ceiling going to be in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years? Man, I don't know. WWE Intercontinental Champion. I don't know what his contract is like. I don't know if he's going to be in AEW. It's probably, it wouldn't shock me if it was a 5-year contract.
Yeah. He's a phenomenal in-ring talent. Phenomenal. His matches are great. It all comes down to character and story.
He's been able to crack some whenever he's allowed to express his personality.
Yeah.
I've always thought that he's done a good job with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I don't know. It's weird. There's so many people in AEW that just sort of are wasting on the sidelines. It's hard to say, oh, this guy's world champion material. This guy's international champion. It's weird. Like the title scenes are either like the international title, I think is going to end up going to Malachi. That would make sense.
Yeah.
But then whenever I say that would make sense, like it just doesn't.
This doesn't happen because it makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Edward Munoz here says this comes from when you guys were talking about Austin Theory yesterday. You guys have been watching the sport for a long time, and I know you're a young podcast and all, but what is the best way to go about talent and creative for wrestling? We can all agree the Vince McMahon approach does work, but Tony Khan and even Triple H seem inconsistent with their approaches. So in your opinion, what's a happy medium of total control or total freedom of your talent?
Man, I mean, I think with experience, with like more experienced wrestlers, people who've been around for a while, like the collaborative process should probably be a bit more like, I don't know. I mean, look, number one, we're not wrestlers. We don't really know the behind the scenes stuff, but given that we are a young podcast who's been paying attention to stuff for a while, unfortunately, like it seems like younger talent might need some more direction, you know, and the collaborative process would land heavily more on the booker as opposed to the talent themselves. Whereas the older you get, the more experience you have, the more you understand who you are, what your character is. It would seem that the formula would be a bit more leaning towards, you know, letting the talent dictate to a degree what they're doing as opposed to the booker who, you know, helps guide them a little bit. That's my guess, but I'm not.
Yeah. You think the performers who know their character and are really good at portraying that character on TV would be the people to go to maybe not in terms of the overarching story, but in terms of particular story beats.
Yeah.
You would maybe defer to them as far as like, all right, how would your character react to this situation?
Yeah.
That would seem to make more sense as opposed to shoehorn whatever kind of idea the booker might have that might contradict how that character would actually behave.
Yeah.
So, but you know, and that's a situation where, yeah, some younger talent might not have a character, might not feel great about their character, might not know their character.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then in that sense, yes, you'd think, you know, whether it be producers, bookers, whatever, would be more involved in their creative, as opposed to someone like Mox or Kenny, people have been doing it for a while who know their characters and have established creative minds.
Yeah.
You know, like it seems like give them an idea, let them run with it.
Yeah. I agree. Or sort of dried up on the questions on YouTube. So if you have any more,
all right, yeah. There's some more over here. Andrew Connolly, do you think by the end of 2024, Kenny, the Young Bucks, and MJF will all be out of AEW and go to WB?
It all sort of depends on what you had said earlier, like what I think is probably the case. If things are settled down, if like they're able to incorporate Punk into the company and do this brand split so everybody's happy and they're able to do what they want to do and have fun doing it, I think it's a lot more likely they stay with the company. If conversely things are kind of crappy and they're butting heads with management and things maybe from a creative standpoint have settled down in WWE and there's an understanding, okay, Vince is not in the picture and Triple H really likes them, then I could see them leaving. But it's way too early to tell. I have no idea.
Yeah. Steve Klain, how would you have booked Jay White's AEW debut to make him feel like a bigger deal?
Oh, man.
You have him debut and defeat Orange Cassidy for the International Championship.
I'm always a fan of how WWE used to kind of do it back in the Attitude Era. When they have a big debut, you debut him in a main event scene, way. So like he would come out and confront MJF, but maybe before that match is able to happen, he gets sidelined by somebody else. And then that's his first big feud. But you show the audience what this person looks like standing toe-to-toe with a main eventer. That's what they did with Jericho, toe-to-toe with The Rock. Yep. He didn't immediately go to the main event scene, but he debuted in a way trading wits with a main eventer. And then they sort of fall back down, and then they come back up. So, it would have been a promo against an MJF or a promo against a Mox-level name. And then you see where he goes. But for Jay White to come in and not, this is sort of what we also talk about when it comes to like open world stuff. Like for him to come in and not have any interaction with the Elite or Kenny, not backstage stuff, none of that stuff. It's not the best use of him. We need to feel like everybody is running into each other and relationships matter,
Yep. We got some super chats and memberships here on YouTube. Justifiable Treason says, Steve here, Pipe Bomb 2023. I was here. Review King says, preach Steve. Ava Collins with super chat. Thank you. Lucha says, Steven Larson spitting real facts. 100% agree. Just so we could continue that trend. Athena as well.
I'd love to see Athena back on cable TV, man.
I know.
Because she's doing really terrific work.
She really is. She really is. High Plains Drifter says, I think he's a Russo fan, lol. W.S. Fletcher, renewed memberships. Is Steve such a good finale?
Oh, man, dude, I cried multiple times. I really did.
High Plains Drifter here says, you think Tony Khan cares about repetitive things?
I mean, I just seemingly not, because there's a lot of repetition there. I
know. Hulkster69's you. Says Danielson should be champ, would carry AEW up.
I'm not mad with them doing what they're doing with MJF. I think that, having a young champion, I don't think it's a terrible thing. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Danielson's great too, so can't go wrong with any of that.
Yeah. Certainly cannot.
Yeah. Anyways. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We absolutely appreciate it. Thanks for letting a couple of old men with a new podcast get some stuff off their chest. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
We just want wrestling to be better. That's all we want.
Yep.
For everybody. Anyways, thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.